my fellow challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, then we are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated Challenge historian, Jacob Hollabaugh. Thank you so very, very much for being here with me today. On today's podcast, we are slowly but surely going to get ourselves caught all the way up on Challenge Australia. It is a great season from the bit we've seen thus far. We are a couple weeks behind. We were hit by holidays. We're hit by sickness, by flu, by this, that, and the other. And so we've fallen a bit behind. And also because those links were a little get harder to find out there, but slowly but surely they have all become available at different times. So hopefully you are able to continue watching as I have, as it seems like not that many people in Australia have. If anyone from Australia is listening, first and foremost, thank you for being here. But man, y'all didn't really love the challenge being brought into your world, because if you haven't seen, the Challenge Australia was canceled mid-season, essentially, over in Australia. The ratings dropped precipitously from episode 1 to about episode 5 or 6 before they decided to just call that quits, and they sent the rest to whatever their streaming version of, their Paramount Plus versus CBS or MTV that we got over here in the States. So that's a shame, especially given the fact that it's a very good season. So we are still going to get to see the rest of it one way or the other. So we're going to cover the rest of it one way or the other, and we're going to get caught up. So today is going to be about episodes 3 and 4. Previously did episode 1 and 2. Today we're going to do 3 and 4 combined recap episode, looking at both of those episodes. And then we're going to come back again on Friday, do episodes 5 and 6. And next Monday, episodes 7 and 8. And then for episode 9 and 10, the finales. That will either probably still be a joint episode 2. We think we're just going to go the rest of the way out. I believe there's only 10 episodes. So if we're already getting caught up by doing 2 at a time, we're probably just going to end the whole thing doing 2 at a time, because episodes 9 and 10 will mean we're going right into a final, possibly both having to do with the final anyway. So yeah, 3 and 4 today. 5 and 6, on Friday, 7 and 8 on Monday. Those episodes are all out and exist in the world. So pending where you're at and watching, you can get caught up to and watch right along with us. Head over on Instagram at Most Likely To Pod. Page has a lot of the links up there. If you just do some searching and sleuthing out there on Twitter, on Reddit, on Instagram, on all the regular challenge-related channels, there's a bunch of different people sharing them. I've seen these episode links come up a bunch of different places on Twitter from a bunch of different people. I believe I've seen links going around on Reddit. So pages, Most Likely To Pod, Instagram feeds, got a lot of the links in there. Elsewhere, just do some searching, do some sleuthing. You'll be able to find them if you want to watch. And watch you should, because I think this season's great. I think this cast is awesome. These 2 episodes we're going to talk about today, a little bit lacking, but I feel like it's just a small lull between episodes 1 and 2 and what's going to come in the episodes beyond them. After Challenge Australia, the only other programming note really to speak of is Ride or Dies Wednesdays and Survivor Saturdays over on the Most Likely To podcast feed. 2 more weeks of Survivor coming. Who knows how many more weeks of Challenge Ride or Dies. So those are on Wednesdays and Saturdays, respectively. As for the format today, doing 2 episodes at once, sticking to the same format, though. We're going to talk high-level kind of storyline stuff about both of them, mixed together. Everything we go through, we're just going to talk about episode 3 and 4. The same thing, when we talk about daily challenges, we'll just talk about both daily challenges. When we talk about gameplay, we'll talk about gameplay from both. So we're going to mash it all together, hand out a couple of awards, do some predictions and power rankings as well at the end. So your standard recap episode, just 2 episodes joined in to 1. That's how we're going to do it. So Challenge Australia, episodes 3 and 4. Let's dive on in. Kicking off the storylines with the thing that's I'm a little bit shocked by from these next 2 episodes. I just alluded to it, but what happened to the fun? Because episodes 1 and 2, I couldn't have been higher on this cast, on heading over. We're not really going to Australia. We're in Argentina, just like the other recent seasons we've watched. But just the whole vibe of this, I liked everything about it. I liked all the people involved. Everything was going so great. There was a lot of fun and excitement in the first couple episodes. And it's not that these 2 episodes, 3 and 4, were without any of that, but it certainly seems to have went to the back burner a little bit. And I don't know. Why is this group so chill suddenly? There was still, we still had a couple people showing out and giving us real great performances. Cyrell in particular, after, the fun she's having after winning. David putting the cucumbers in her and Emily's bed. That's really, really good at the end of or the beginning of episode 4, which he did, I suppose, at some time at the end of episode 3. But it seems like there's more going on that maybe we're not seeing. It seems like maybe this is being edited in kind of the wrong way. It definitely, from what happened to the ratings and now the show getting canceled over in Australia, that definitely seems to be the case, that whatever is going on, if there's more fun being had, if there's more shenanigans at play, hookups at play, drama at play, they're maybe not showing us. They're focusing a little bit too much on the game and the competition, the same as, has been a gripe of American audiences for a lot of recent seasons, and definitely was a bit of an issue with the CBS version, the Challenge USA, which is what the direct counterpart to this season is, as it was a part of, the conception of doing an American and Australian and Argentinian and a UK version all at the same time under basically the same format for the same eventual full season of global tournament thing. But it seems like they're really missing the boat, because I have to imagine there's more going on here. We only have, in these episodes, we get one hookup. I thought there was going to be a ton from this cast, and part of me still thinks there is, and we're just not seeing it. But we get Conrad and Megan, and, that's great. Good for them. Well done all around. Someone putting that hot tub to use. But this group seems very single. They're all good looking. How's there not more going down? It started off fast. It started like, oh, there's so many bachelor people here too, this, that, and the other. And I just feel like, are we not seeing it? Ryan and Emily are shown to be like buddies, but like, what kind of buddies are they? Is Kiki and anyone? I feel like that was right there for her to be taken. Kieran, maybe, I guess he's decided to stop cheating on his girlfriend after the first episode. I don't know. But it feels like there's got to be more than just Conrad and Megan's one smooch in the hot tub going on, and maybe they're just not showing it to us. But overall, I'm a little worried about yet another season in another country where their reality TV is a little bit more of the kind of trashy drama. And I say that glowingly, respectfully, admiringly, that we kind of used to be accustomed to of this show, and that's kind of went away, and as it's become more and more of like just the sport, just the competition, just the strategy, and we get a little less than that. So I wonder if it's actually not there, or if they're not showing it. I also know the cold weather kicking in, that definitely, this season, they're filming them in the same house, in the same spot, and they filmed this one after USA, and I don't know, maybe after Ryder dies as well, but it's definitely a much colder weather season, so there's less of them outside having a good time in that nice yard and pool and everything else that they have. So the fun has dipped, but I think it's going to come back. I think the rest of the episodes 5, 6, and beyond we're going to get a bit more of that, even as the cast gets smaller. Usually that's when things tighten up. I feel like there's a chance for a lot of sparks still to come. Let's move to the next big topic then. Let's talk about the daily challenges. And I promise I'm about to be a little bit negative again here for the second topic in a row. I promise it's not going to be like that the whole podcast by any means, but I've got to say, let's do both of these daily challenges from episode 3 first, then episode 4. Episode 3 had bolas for blood. We have seen this one before, or a variation of it, as all of the ones we're going to see in this season, we assume, how we've seen on Ride or Dies or USA, or both in some cases. And bolas for blood, the only difference is the version we'd seen before, there was trivia kind of involved, or the questions were a little bit different. It wasn't just super simple basic math problems, which this version is very basic math problems, like 83 plus 11, and they get it wrong, or it was 82 plus 11 and they think it's 94 and get it wrong, which is hilarious. The Australians are just as bad at math as the American reality stars tend to be. So that was at least reassuring and comforting to know that we're all just as bad at all of this stuff as everyone else. But super basic math problems, and this challenge, that was kind of the most interesting part of it. The version we'd seen before was the questions being asked and whether people were able to get them right or wrong, and some of the funny misanswers that people were giving. Then you just change it to basic math ones, and now we're just watching people look for numbers in a mud pit, and it's not very interesting to watch, which isn't a good place to be with the daily challenge. And then in episode 4, things are a little bit similar. It's good to display people's endurance capabilities, but they're doing Build Me Up, the one we've seen very recently on Ride or Dies, where you gotta just carry the wine barrels, the empty wine barrels, which it's great that they call it wine barrels when it could be a barrel of anything, because there's nothing in the barrels. It's actually just a barrel for carrying in the challenge, but where you carry them from one station to the next to press some buttons and get to the end first. It's good to display people's endurance capabilities. It's good to get a read on how people might do in that department when it comes to a final, but it's not interesting to watch. It's interesting for about 10 seconds at the end when it becomes a very close race, which I will give this version credit. One single heat versus the 2 heats. You know how I feel about that if you've been listening to the Ride or Dies recaps. It's way better with the 1 heat. It is fun. At the end of this one, Troy and Emily coming down to the wire, able to eke it out over Conrad, and I believe it's Sugar maybe was his partner in episode 4. But the only bad thing about doing these 2 episodes at once with the switching partners every week is remembering who's who in which episodes. But neither of these 2 daily challenges, they're just not that interesting. And it's whereas in episode 1 and 2 of watching this season, and in most of the episodes so far of Ride or Dies, when there's been some overlap with Challenge USA stuff, it has been fun, and I've talked about it's kind of interesting to watch different groups of people do the exact same thing in the exact same places, and some of the deja vu of it's interesting, and there's some fun to be had. But also the other side of that, and the more we get of it, having the same games and house and format makes the cracks or the weak part of any of that you're going to have over and over, they're just going to be amplified every single time. So when it's these daily challenges, and some of them are ones that are pretty boring to watch, don't really offer much visually or not that stimulating, but yet they still take up, a bulk chunk of the episode. It just goes from, if it's the first time we're ever seeing that, okay, whatever, we get through that 10 minutes of a daily challenge that isn't that interesting. But then when we see it a second time or a third time, and it's just as boring, or they even take away the one variable in it that makes it a little bit fun, it just that's amplified so much more because we've seen it before. And this season is suffers from being, for us watching it after we've watched these other ones, just as if we get to watch the UK or the Argentina version at some point, we'll probably feel the same way. I don't know if we're going to get to watch any of those at any point or not. I'm still going to if we get the opportunity to. I hope we get the opportunity to. But any cracks in the game, any weak parts are just amplified so much more when you're filming 4 or 5 seasons of the same thing over and over, just with different casts. It makes it really tough. So the daily challenges left me wanting for a bit more in these 2 episodes. Let's talk actual gameplay that goes down in both these episodes, because there is a bunch of decisions made, of course, and mostly I feel like everyone is making the right decisions, and nothing's too overly dramatic because it's all a little bit straightforward right now, but there is a lot brewing here. So quickly, let's just lay out the 3 alliances. There's really 2 alliances plus everyone else that's kind of a floating alliance, if you will, a third alliance, if you will. But there's 3 going down. There's the guys' room, which has Johnny, Grant, Ryan, for sure, those 3, plus Jessica and Emily, plus more or less Cyrell and Sugar. That alliance is pretty big. Obviously, some of these folks go home by the end of these 2 episodes, but going into these 2 episodes, that's where the alliance of the guys' room alliance, which is hilariously bad naming, which is also credit to them. They don't try to come up with some name for their alliance. It's just like, oh yeah, the 3 guys in that one room plus their friends. It's the guys' room alliance. Good job. Batchy alliance, which I love. Batchy. I love that they say the term Batchy over and over and over. Absolutely love it. That's Kieran, Conrad, Megan, Kiki, and Brittany. And I think maybe one more woman. I forget who all comes from The Bachelor on the show, but there's at least those 5. And then there's the others. There's Troy and Marley, who are definitely a tight duo, trying purposely to play the middle. There's the both Brooks, who don't seem to have a home in all of this. And there's Conor. And I think that's it. Yeah, those 5. Conor, Brooke, Marley, and Troy, more or less in the middle of the thing. So there's these alliances going around. And those alliances really dictate what happens in both of these episodes. Let's talk about one at a time. Episode 3, the power team and the decisions they had to make. Then we'll do episode 4, the power team and the decisions they had to make. So Conor and Cyrell win in episode 3, which thank goodness, because Cyrell, absolute legend, absolutely loving everything from this. And they go on the offensive. They're thrilled about going on the offensive. Conor had been targeted a couple weeks in a row already, so now he gets to go on offense. The whole thing's great. I couldn't have picked a better team to win in episode 3. They're torn by the end of this. They both have a team they want to go with. Both of the teams they are considering, which is Grant and Kiki, and Conrad and Brooke B, are the 2 teams that Jessica and David have said they would go against, and so it makes it even more difficult. Cyrell and Conor are torn, and they get to the end, and Cyrell just offers up, why don't we just flip a coin, because we can't make a decision, to which Conor decides, that's not in the spirit of the game, so I'll just do what you want to do, which is a hilarious place to end up in a duo like this when you can't make the decision. Obviously, he wasn't that strong in his conviction to begin with. If his result is, I love that he says it's disrespectful to the game to do that, because that feels like you should make a real actual choice, but it's kind of hilarious that he's just like, we should make a choice. So, all right, you win. You called my bluff. We played the game of chicken. Cyrell wins. She gets her way. Shout out to Grant and Kiki, though, because during all of this, they at least, while they end up getting picked, they do a great job in trying everything they can. They have the conversation with Conor and Cyrell. Grant plays the family card hard. Supposedly he and Cyrell know each other, or he's friends with her husband or something like that. They flash a picture at some point, say something about how could they be against each other, but now they are. I don't know. They didn't really do that backstory justice, but I know we got some sort of picture somewhere. But Grant does his family justice by playing the family card, being like, I've got kids and a spouse. Cyrell, you've got a spouse and some kids. Like, come on. Kiki then comes over the top rope and is like, let me get these waterworks going. Let me start playing the, like, I'm proving myself so much to myself. Let me get some tears going here. Let me make this real emotional. They both lay it on thick. And while it doesn't eventually work, it is a great performance. And I stand by it and I say, great job, both of you. Now, on the flip side of that, the other team that is being considered is only being considered because David goes out there trying to get Conrad and Brooke B in, because he thinks Brooke B's looking a little weak because she confided in him and got a little teary and emotional herself over the fact that maybe she isn't having the best time in this house the way she thought, and didn't realize coming in how much of the challenge is just being in a house with all these people versus actually doing the challenge, and it's not as fun as she thought. David uses this against her. He tells Conor and Cyrell about it. They then bring it up to her, which she then has to bring it back up to him. It's a whole thing, and it's super snake shit from David, who he's having a great time doing everything that he's doing, and he's doing a lot in these first 3 episodes while he is still there, but he is just really, really putting himself out there. He's trying anything and everything. He's using anything and everything he's got as leverage, as, kind of ammunition, as currency politically in the game, but he's doing it from a place of constantly being in the eliminations because his teams keep getting last or being targeted because they're not doing so well. And it doesn't work here. And thankfully for Brooke, I don't know, Brooke B, if this will come back around, if this turns into something where she is continuously targeted because of this idea that David started spreading because she shared the one vulnerable moment. But it's one of the reasons you gotta pick your friends wisely. You gotta pick who you're telling what to wisely in a challenge house. But Conor and Cyrell overall make good decisions. Everything makes sense why they would pick Grant and Kiki, even though Cyrell kind of is eventually looped in with that alliance. She's not 100%. She's a little more floater than anything. She's just attached to Emily more than anything. She wants to get back at Grant for the week before, and Kiki is in the Batchy group that is, neither Conor or Cyrell are working with, so that decision makes sense. Then we've got Troy and Emily in episode 4, who they've got their friends already in elimination. Johnny and Cyrell are in there, and Emily wants to help Johnny and Cyrell both out. Troy wants to just keep his hands clean, still play that middle, and so Johnny and Cyrell ask them for either Conor and Megan, but also they would be willing to consider Kieran and Kiki. so that they could as a group, take a shot at the Batchy crew. And so Troy and Emily have to make this decision. It's pretty much one of these two teams. Those are the only two teams they should do. And they eventually choose Conor and Megan, and they get it wrong. They should have taken the shot. Once you see it's a puzzle, they walk in there, and I know they haven't seen this before the way we at home have, so I know there's a little bit of hindsight of like, yeah, we get in there, and I know exactly what it is because we've seen this game before recently. They don't, but you can pretty much tell there's pieces all over the ground. There's two poles empty sitting there. You're obviously building some sort of puzzle. There's a room. It's pretty obvious this is some sort of giant puzzle. They don't know exactly how it's going to work, but you should be able to tell it's a puzzle. It's not something super physical. And if you want Johnny and Cyrell to come back, give them the less puzzle-inclined duo, a.k.a. Kieran and Kiki, who, no offense, I don't have a lot of faith until I've seen it in their... They don't scream puzzle masters to me. Let's put it that way. And that is someone you're trying to take a shot at. You're trying to go at that alliance. And so you're given an opportunity where you could put them into something they're maybe not super suited for. And that would be advantageous to the two you are trying to defend who are already in there. Plus, even if this was something like super physical or something that just looked, whatever they would say Kieran and Kiki's strengths were, if it's something that looks like, Kieran and Kiki are going to be favored in this, oh well, you got to take a shot anyways. And you know why? Because your side's going to have the winners almost every time. So start taking your shots, because at some point you've got to. If you can't, there's only so many people floating in the middle, and some of those people could possibly win the daily. So you got to take some shots at some point, because between their crew, they've got Emily and Sugar both in the guys' room kind of alliance. And Emily and Sugar are going to be on the winning team almost every single time. It's going to be hard for any of the other women to beat them, and any of the physical endurance-based stuff they continually are being asked to do in the daily challenges. So take your shot. I get Troy's part of this, trying to be more in the middle, wanting to go with Conor and Megan is a little less direct shot. Conor's kind of been the one everyone's aiming at a little bit here, and now he had power the episode before, and he did some stuff, so even more people are like okay with him going. So I get where Troy's coming from of, hey, I don't want to declare myself officially on your guys' side by going Kieran and Kiki and like straight up like Batchy crew, here we come for you. So I get Troy not wanting to do it, but I also get Conor's reasoning, which is very good, when he goes to Troy and says like, hey, the heat's on me right now. You don't have to pick me. And if you don't, it's not like the heat just leaves me. I'm still going to be the target, and you can stand behind me. I can be a shield for you for another week or two, and you're in the middle. And so eventually, when all of the people that the heat is on, aka me, are gone, it's eventually going to come to you, and it's going to come to you quicker than you might realize. So you might want to keep me around, keep me as that shield. It's a good argument. Yes, he's talked his way out of elimination a couple times already. Yes, he's trying to do it again here, but he's doing it with facts. He's doing it with opinions that are correct. And I think Troy and Emily both should have realized the benefits of keeping a Conor and taking a shot at Kieran and Kiki, going against that alliance, and then also possibly saving their alliance members. Would they have definitely won or lost that? I don't know, but I think Johnny and Cyrell would have had a better chance versus Kieran and Kiki, and it would have at least been open and honest about, this is where the line is. Y'all are on that side. We're on this side. They both kind of know it, but still, to this point, 4 episodes in, no one's willing to take a shot either way. The final thing to talk about then is, we've mentioned who was in the eliminations, but let's talk about both of those eliminations. First off, Spelling Ebe, episode 3. I can't believe they didn't rename it for the second time around. I know, these are being filmed before they go out into the world, so we didn't get to see any fan reaction before they made Bryony say Spelling Ebe, but they saying it the same as TJ saying it, the same as it being on our screen at any time. It's very silly. It's very silly, and those are the only words I'm going to use because I'm feeling kind at this point of the podcast. But they got to do the spell a word backwards to see how many tires you have to add or subtract from your load of tires to move. And algorithm is way harder than nominate, politics, or Argentina. Those are the 4 words. Kiki gets screwed. It is not fair that she's got to go with algorithm over nominate, politics, Argentina. I get that those should probably all be in the same category, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a soft spot for Kiki getting it wrong. But I feel like that one's a bunch harder than the other three are. And like the Build Me Up Daily, this competition, it's a good endurance test, but is pretty boring to watch. Just like it was the last time we saw it. It's just moving tires back and forth. I like that they have to stay in their little paths, maybe incentivizing them to run into each other, but no one runs into each other. No one tries to like block each other or knock anyone over, which I don't know if they're allowed to, like how deliberate they're allowed to get with it, but that would be a lot more fun. It's not great. Grant and Kiki smoke it, and so they get to come back to the game, which is good. Goodbye to Jessica and David, which was tough to do for the show, certainly. Jessica has a lot of potential. I liked her a lot. I think she could do very well in a challenge house if she were given another opportunity. David, on the other hand, he was a bit too much for me. He brought a lot, and I appreciate everything he brought to the table. I appreciate the entertainment that he brought to the table, but it was a little much for me. It was a little over the top. I definitely think if I was in that house, I would have known who I would have probably been targeting, just because I would have laughed for 75% of it, but it would have went on too long, and I would have just been like, okay, this is a little too much. The 8-inch heels, though, by the way, going into deliberation, just towering over everyone walking up to an interrogation table. That's a boss move right there. Then the second elimination from episode 4, a dark turn. Look, this is really, really hard. Super duper hard. And the rules are very questionable, as usual, because for the second time, we've seen this before, and I thought the same thing last time we saw it as I did this time. Obviously, they're not allowed to just pick up all the pieces and put them by their tower, because the obvious smart thing to do, and I don't think this is just obvious of hindsight of getting to watch it play out twice in a row. I think obvious when you walk in there and are told what you have to do, the first thing that would be on my mind is, okay, we're going to collect all of the pieces and stack them by size right next to our pole, so that we've got like small, medium, large, extra large, just 4 piles, 4 stacks of them, so that when we go in and start trying to memorize this thing, we can come out and put it together very, very quickly without doing the whole collection thing there. They're very clearly not allowed to do that, but then like, what's the actual rules of like, could you just act like you got a bunch wrong and like just pick up like 20 and put them on and then immediately be like, oh, check, oh, it's wrong, okay, cool, now take them off and pile them up? I don't know, but the rules, as always, a little questionable. If you're going to keep giving us kind of boring to watch eliminations and daily challenges, at least maybe start like giving us the full rule book. That could be nice. I don't know, just a suggestion. Giving the pieces a number based on the finger size, though, which both teams end up doing, but one team in particular, I believe Conor and Megan, are actually like using those numbers as the numbers they're saying out loud. I think Johnny and Cyrell actually started, and then Conor and Megan kind of transferred to it. But they both have the good strategy down. They both know how to measure it out. And if I was them, I'm doing 5 pieces at a time. Pick a number, always do that exact number so that you can know where you should be in your count. Every time you go back in, you'd be like, all right, we did 5, obviously. So this time, count to the 6th piece, start memorizing there. Count to the 10th, 11th piece, start memorizing there. 16th piece, etc. Conor and Megan win. I wouldn't be too cocky if I was those two. Wouldn't be cocky for long. They get pretty cocky after the fact. They're very excited about their win, which totally makes sense. But I think those two are both toast. I think they got the right elimination for them. They got lucky that Cyrell and Johnny missed the one, and they both got lucky to be around a lot any longer, and I don't think they're going to be around a lot longer. As for Johnny and Cyrell, both losses for the show. Johnny had definitely brought something to the table. As much as I would not condone his tactics in relationship that he showed during this season, he also didn't do anything all that bad. He just needed a lay, got a lay, and wasn't interested after that. But regardless, he brought something to the table. He was fun, and Cyrell brought a lot to the table. She was definitely one of the MVPs of the season for 4 episodes, and it's unfortunate she won't be around longer because she had a lot of entertainment value, a lot of energy, doing a lot of good things. She is going to be sorely, sorely missed. I mean, her celebrations with Emily were hilarious. Outright how happy she was about getting to use the power. Everyone always gets so scared of the power in these games. She gets the power and she revels in it, loved it. She was just great all the way through. So we're going to miss Cyrell. We're going to miss Johnny. Tough loss. But overall, both of these eliminations, again, similar to the daily challenge, it's just once it was something interesting because it's new. When you're seeing it for the second time, you're like, it wasn't that good, and now we're getting it again. It just amplifies, the if the feelings are kind of meh, even meh feelings can be amplified. Let's hand out some awards. Let's update the power rankings and the predictions, shall we? On the first awards from Best Quote, Cyrell had a couple opportunities here to steal this award. I wasn't able to record any of them, so I can't play them back for you. But as much as Cyrell put up a good performance in the confessional booth, I think I've got to give the award for both of these episodes to Conor, who says, quote, $200,000 sounds really great because that's a lot of blocks of feta. And food's getting expensive, end quote. Which, how Conor loves feta cheese to the tune of thinking about how many blocks of it he could buy with the money that he's winning. That is something I never would have had on my challenge bingo card or anyone's bingo card or life bingo card. There's no way this man or anyone likes feta cheese that much, but it was what was on Conor's mind when thinking about how he could spend $200,000, and I salute it. Award for the best quote of the episode or of both of the episodes. Then is for the best moment of these 2 episode stretch. 4 nominees here. 2 from each episode actually works out really well. First one, the fire truck hose down and then throwing a Bryony into the mud pit. It was the best part of the otherwise not all that exciting daily challenge. But after the daily challenge is over, this is the way I feel like it's nice to use all of the toys and everything. We don't have to bring in all the trucks and things just to say there was one there for the daily challenge. But when it can be after it's over and like, hey, we got a fire truck rolling in. What's going on here? Oh, I used to be a firefighter. I'm going to hose all of you down now. That was actually pretty fun and funny. And then the fact that they were all like, well, Bryony, you're going in the mud then. Like, you got a way too nice of outfits and you don't get to just stand here and spray us from point blank range with a fire engine hose. You're going in the mud and then we'll spray you too. Loved that entire moment. We get some backstory with our host. That's kind of fun to do. Don't always get something like that, and the whole group having a good time together. I liked that a lot. Second nominee, Cyrell and Emily celebrating Cyrell's win. They come back. They're jumping on the bed. They're, stamping their feet around. They're immediately like, who can we get? Oh, well, here we go, Grant. Like, too bad for you. We're immediately into vindictive mode. I don't even care who's in my alliance possibly mode. Just, I'm having fun. I'm relishing the power, as everyone should do. Don't get all caught up and all nervous about the power. Have fun with it. Cyrell and Emily certainly do. That moment's great, as is the next time those 2 women come to their bedroom together after the end of the elimination and the open of episode 4, when they come back to find cucumbers in their bed left by, we presume, David, which I've always kind of wondered exactly what the process of leaving the house is. I mean, we see them always packing their bags. They go to the elimination and then they leave, and you assume they leave right from there. They're never going back to the house, but maybe possibly they get to go back to the house one last time first before everyone else gets there so they don't see everyone again. I don't know. But if David just did this before he left, before he went to the elimination, thinking maybe thinking I might be going home, I want to have something there for when they come back. Maybe he thought, I'm going to win and come back, and this will be funny when we get back to the house. I don't know. Either way, it worked, and it was a good moment for me. And then fourth and finally, Conrad and Megan's hookup in the hot tub with everyone watching from the bedroom nearby. Thank goodness for them, giving us some sort of romantic flair for the season. We'll see if that spark will continue at all. They both seem to be very on the same page of this is just for fun while we're here, which absolutely great. More people join in on the fun. Everyone's allowed to have fun. Let's see some more of it. It seems like everyone kind of wants to, and maybe some people are, and we're just not seeing it. So between those 4 moments, though, I'm going to give the fire truck hose down and throw in the host in the mud. That's really great and something I've never seen before. So that's the favorite moment of these 2 episodes. As for the MVP, joint again, as all of these have been, and this whole podcast has been episode 3 and 4 together. Conor in 5th, Troy in 4th, Emily in 3rd, Kiki in 2nd. All 4 of them bring a lot to the table. Conor is very present. Both of these 2 episodes on the winning side, on the losing then winning side. He's all over, fingerprints all over this episode. Troy, my guy Troy, I knew I liked this guy for a reason. I knew I thought he was going to dominate, and he's starting to do just that. His second win in the daily challenge, he handles the Power in a smart way, if even in a way I disagreed with ultimately, but it was a smart move for him. He's playing smart. That's all you can ask. Emily continues to show that, unlike sometimes in the past, you bring the stud athlete who's way better on the competition side than everyone into the house. Sometimes that's not going to come with the biggest personality. Not the case for Emily. She's been just as good at the show side of things as the sports side of things. Loving everything from her. Kiki's been wonderful both of these last 2 episodes, but the MVP of these 2 episodes, and the MVP, if you had to give a 40% mark MVP for the season, although it won't last because she leaves at the end of the 4th episode, it is Cyrell. Cyrell gives us all kinds of things, and when she's winning or losing, she's having a good time doing it. She's having a kind of a boisterous time doing it, bringing some emotion, some personality to the camera. She is happy to use the power. She is happy to talk her way into the best opponent for her when in a position of non-power. She's doing it all. She's having a good time. She's proud of herself. We're proud of her. Really, really enjoyed having Cyrell on this season, and it's a huge loss. It is definitely someone who this season would have benefited a lot by having a Cyrell make it all the way to the end so she could have been in all the episodes, but there's other personalities here. There's other potential to be tapped, and I'm sure we'll get into a lot of it. But sayonara to Cyrell, the MVP of episode 3 and 4. And then finally, we move to the power rankings. Since we're down to now, at the end of these 4 episodes, we are down to 14 people left, so I'm going to expand out the entire power ranking all the way to top 7 on both sides. Everyone gets their spot. So let's do the females first. And the very top of the list hasn't changed at all, and I don't think it's going to change at all because I think there's a clear divide. Emily and Sugar are at the top of this list. They are the 2, professional athletes coming in, an Olympian and a boxer, and they're proving it. Time in, time out. Even if Sugar doesn't have the wins that Emily has quite yet, she's performed incredibly well. She's been a near winner multiple times now, and she's starting to be looked at by the other women and men in the house as the dominant partner to possibly have. So those 2 remain at the top. Then I've got Brooke J in 3rd, Megan in 4th, Brittany in 5th, Kiki in 6th, Brooke B in 7th. Brooke B, it seems like what David did to her is going to probably catch up with her. Once the rumors of someone doesn't want to be there start, that's an easy person to vote against. It just is the way these houses work. So David's move, even though he is now long gone, still could come back to haunt Brooke B. It's why I have her near the bottom. Plus, haven't seen the best performances out of her. And then, Kiki, Brittany, Megan, Brooke J. I like Brooke J. I feel good about Brooke J in the 3rd spot. Megan, Brittany, Kiki, you could put in any order. I don't have much to go off of based why any of them are in front of the others. It's really just some kind of tiers here. I see Emily and Sugar in their own tier. I see Brooke J leading the next tier, and then I see Brooke B kind of as the most vulnerable in the game on the women's side right now. Then on the men's side, Ryan 1st, Troy 2nd, Conrad 3rd, Kieran 4th, Marley 5th, Grant 6th, and Conor 7th. I think Conor's got to be at the bottom. He's just consistently been targeted, and I don't see that changing. He's definitely in the most vulnerable spot. And then Grant's performed well, but I still just don't. I don't know. The guys' side's a lot more even than the women's side is for me. I really feel confident in Ryan and Troy's abilities to keep on winning and to just kind of do everything and be good generally at everything. I think Conrad has started to show. We've gotten a couple of glimpses of he is a lot taller than all the other ones. He is a little more built than because of his height. You don't totally realize he's maybe got a little more strength than some of the others. I like him in the 3rd spot, but the men's side, very close. All 7 of these guys could make the final. I think almost any of them could win a final possibly, but I definitely put Troy and Ryan at the top for a reason. I think they're doing the best. As for season predictions, after these episodes, I'm now at 3 people gone of my original 10 predictions for the finalists. I've lost Johnny, I've lost Jack, and I've lost Jessica. I've still got Ryan, Troy, Grant, Emily, Brooke J, Megan, and Kiki. So we're going to see. I'm hoping I at least go 5 for 10. We'll see how that does. But my winners picks, Ryan and Emily going wire to wire, still looking good there. Here's my predictions for not just the next episode, but the next 2, episodes 5 and 6, which we will cover in the Duel podcast as well later this week. Episode 5 and 6 predictions. 1, Emily and Sugar are going to be the winning female, either both Emily, both Sugar, or one of each Either way, I think every single winner from here on out features one of those two women as the female portion of that team. Second prediction, the Batchy crew turns on each other. I think that alliance is just a ticking time bomb. It's not going to last. And even though the other alliance won't take shots at them, I think eventually the Batchy crew will blow themselves up. And third and final, I think Ryan's going to forget something, because that guy, both of these episodes, I could have thrown these in kind of the best moment awards, but Ryan has multiple moments where in the middle of conversations with someone, he has to stop and say, wait a minute, what are we talking about again? Oh yeah, remind me what you just said like 3 seconds ago in the plan that us as an alliance are trying to make, who we're trying to get out. Okay, great. Who's your partner again? You told me that. I should know that. Okay, great. He's the best. He's having a good time. He's maybe not paying almost any attention at all any of the time, but I love every bit. He's going to forget something. So those are your predictions for the next episodes. And that is it for these 2 episodes. We will move into episodes 5 and 6. I'm hoping the fun picks back up. The next episode on Clips looked real good. It looks like some drama's coming back into the Challenge Australia house. So very excited for that. We'll be back on Wednesday with Ride or Dies. And then on Friday, we'll do episodes 5 and 6. Next Monday, we will do episodes 7 and 8. And then eventually that following Friday, I believe both episodes will be now out next week. We'll be able to finish it out with 9 and 10 and finish this whole thing. They may have canceled it in Australia, but we are not canceling it on this podcast, because I like this season. I like this cast. And a handful of these folks are going to be coming to our TV soon on the global tournament. So I want to finish out how they fare here in Argentina in the first Challenge Australia. And yeah, we're going to roll right on through the rest of the season. So get out there and find those links. Again, at Most Likely To Pod on Instagram is one spot to find a bunch of the links in her highlight feeds. Otherwise, do some searching on Twitter, on Reddit, on Instagram, just generally on the internet. They were up on Daily Motion for a minute. They got taken down. I bet they'll be back up there at some point. All these episodes are out there to be found, so just do a little searching. You can find them, and you can watch, and maybe you can resurrect the Challenge Australia by all of us around the world watching if the fine folks in Australia decided they didn't want to tune in live on their network television. So thank you so much for being here. We'll be back later this week. Until then, peace.